Let's talk Ohio State recruiting because the Buckeyes took down number 1 Texas Longhorns. It wasn't a barn burner, but 14-7, and they were rolling the horseshoe. It was bumping. There was recruits on the sidelines, close to 100 recruits, whether it be from 26, 27, 28 classes. And we're going to talk about it here. We're going to break it all down. But before we do, Buckeye fans, do me a favor. Subscribe to the Rivals Recruits channel. We're talking Ohio State all season long, so jump on board and hit subscribe. All right, let's bring in recruiting insider Mick Walker from Letterman Row. You were there. You were on the sidelines before the game. What was the atmosphere like? I know it was only a noon kickoff, but it seemed like they packed that stadium.
Yeah, they did some different things this offseason to try and improve the stadium atmosphere, and it seemingly worked. There was a lot more noise, and obviously with these big season openers, without the NFL season starting, you got a lot of these guys, like a lot of the guys that were on this past national championship team, Jack Sawyer, Tyleek Williams, JT Tuimoloau, all kind of come back. Travion Henderson, you get the pictures with the recruits on the sideline, and that made it interesting for the recruits, but also, I mean, just interesting. You've done the photos before, so you have hundreds of people walking down at you. Who's a player? Who's a recruit? You got to figure that out, but like you said, hundreds of recruits, and it seemed like everybody had a positive interaction based on what I've heard Steve Wilfons reported, and even Jeremy Birmingham and Alex Gleitman at Letterman Row.
All right, well, we're going to cover 5 of the most important visitors on campus, and we're going to start with one of them that is already committed to Ohio State. It's Blaine Bradford. He's one of the top safeties in America, and he's from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, been committed to Ohio State for several months now. But there's been some buzz late in the summer that maybe he wants to stay home. LSU is obviously a front runner there, but him showing up for week 1, that was big. What was his impressions of this game?
Yeah, I heard he had a great time. It seems like he enjoyed actually seeing the game. Obviously, you have Caleb Downs playing in a game, so any safety's going to like watching that. But the biggest thing was I don't know who all came with him. We still haven't kind of figured out whether his mom or his dad. I know his dad did not come, but I'm not sure if any family or parents came with him. Obviously, his older brother Jacob plays at LSU, so maybe they were in Death Valley watching his first college game against Clemson. But that's kind of the biggest question. Blaine seemed to come. He seemed to enjoy the whole trip. But were there any family with him? I'm not entirely sure, but still, it seemed like Blaine had a good trip, which is the important thing.
So how big of a threat do you think is LSU? And is there anybody else involved right now in this recruitment?
No, so before he committed, he was supposed to officially visit Texas and LSU. Both those visits did not happen, obviously, since he committed. LSU being essentially within walking distance, his brother being there, I think everybody just assumes at some point he will visit for a game, but will it be as a recruit or as a family member? I'm not entirely sure. LSU, obviously, they've had all the other, I believe, top 10 prospects in Louisiana already committed in his class. It's really just Blaine that's left out there, headed out of state. I don't think there's anybody else that's in it, and I honestly don't know if there's a ton of concern that he will flip at this point, but it's just hard to see him not getting on campus. And obviously, if LSU continues to win after they beat Clemson on a Saturday night, maybe they have a little extra push and a little bit, maybe even a little extra funding to get a guy like him to stay home.
All right. We'll keep an eye on Blaine Bradford, but definitely it was a good sign to see him on the sidelines there. All right. Now we're going to turn the page of 2027. Teams are really focusing in on 2027. Ohio State is no different. Some big-time names on campus. We're going to talk about running back David Gabriel Georges. He's from the Baylor School in Tennessee. Elite running back. He had to have enjoyed it. A real Big Ten grinded-out style game. What was his impressions?
Yeah, it seemed like he really enjoyed it. It's his 3rd visit this calendar year. He came up with his mom, his dad, his aunt, uncle, and I believe in a cousin and a sibling, I believe, all came down from Canada, where he's originally from, for this game in Columbus. They all seemed to enjoy it. He was still there on Sunday. I talked to somebody that said they thought he had a good overall visit. He got to meet with Ryan Day on Sunday. It seems like Ohio State's prepared and willing to go all the way they can with NIL in that one as well. So that's why Ohio State seems to be battling neck and neck with Tennessee. Both schools that, as you've kind of chronicled well over the past couple of years, Tennessee and Ohio State seem to hit a lot when they miss out on similar targets. And that's like in this cycle, it's been Savion Hyder goes to Michigan. So now you have Tennessee and Ohio State trying to get a top 2027 running back in David Gabriel Georges. He was there on Saturday and seemingly had a great time as Carlos Laughlin tries to get him to stay home, seeing top target.
All right. Another number 1 player at their position. We're hearing a lot of this when it comes to Ohio State recruiting. And that's Brock Williams, the number 1 tight end in the Rivals 300. I'm sure he could see a role for himself in this offense. What do you think? Where do you think Ohio State stands with Brock Williams?
I think it's Georgia and Ohio State at the top. Texas is involved as well, trying to get him on campus. But Georgia and Ohio State have both gotten on campus multiple times this offseason. He's been a top target for tight ends coach Keenan Bailey for a while. And obviously, since he's kind of 6 hours away, he can come down pretty frequently. He's got a good relationship with 2027 quarterback commit Brady Edmonds. So all factors are kind of building. It was just about getting him on campus to see the atmosphere, see the environment, see him put in 4 different tight ends when they had to go 4th and 1 on the goal line, and even have freshman Nate Roberts line up as a fullback. So Ohio State's tight ends didn't catch a ton of balls. Max Clare caught a couple. He had a good game. But otherwise, it was about just kind of seeing that they were going to play their tight ends and develop in a wide variety of ways, and that's what they put on display for Brock Williams.
Yeah, he had to have enjoyed that one. All right, let's talk about Anthony Sweeney, 4-star edge out of the Baltimore, Maryland area. Ohio State does a lot of work in the DMV, so another big-time prospect. He was at the game. What are you hearing on Sweeney?
Yeah, you and Steve talked about it last week, kind of talking about Ohio State flip targets in 2026. A lot of the discussion is around that edge position because Ohio State missed on a lot of guys this summer. So they need to go get a top guy in 2027, and Anthony Sweeney was on campus yesterday. Chris Whitehead was on campus as well. He's a 5-star, top 25 guy from Virginia. They got to get one of those guys in 2027 at this point, and it seems like all returns were good on Anthony Sweeney. He was another guy that stayed through Saturday night, got to spend some time with the coaching staff on Sunday. So he was here for the spring game, comes back for the season opener. It seems like Ohio State's starting to trend up in that recruitment.
All right, let's head down. One more prospect I want to talk about. We're going to head down to the state of Florida. Number 2 in the Rivals 100 at the quarterback position, Champ Mons. He was up. Now, how big of a priority is he, and what was he saying after this one?
Yeah, Ohio State, obviously it's early. They have a 26 quarterback committed now after getting Luke Fahey this summer. They have a 27 in Brady Edmonds, who we mentioned earlier. Now the attention's on 2028. There's a few guys they haven't offered, but Champs Mons is one of the guys they have offered. They had a couple other guys on campus this weekend with him. But the one that I heard and Jeremy Birmingham heard, and Alex Guyman heard heading into the visit was that Champ Mons was the one they were excited to get back up to campus. He came up with his mom and his dad. They got to spend some time with the coaching staff, Billy Fessler and Colin Canoe, both the quarterback coaches up there, and it seemed like he really enjoyed it. He spoke highly of the visit to Steve Wiltfong after the visit. And it's just about kind of continuing to build that relationship. It's so early in that class, but that's the guy that seemingly have circled or near the top of the list as they kind of start looking at that class.
All right. So just, moving forward, this was a big win for Ohio State, who has some big games coming up. But where do you feel the momentum is right now with Ohio State recruiting?
Yeah, Ohio State, like similar to what Notre Dame does, they do a good job of in these classes kind of getting ahead in the early off season, maybe December, January, after these guys finish up their junior seasons, trying to get them in the boat. And I think that's what the goal is with David Gabriel Georges, Brock Williams. Tell them they're the number one target because that's what they are. Make sure you have everything correct when it comes to the NIL component early on, and see if you can get them in the class. That way you don't have to fend off official visit season, flip season down the stretch. Get these guys in that you've gotten on campus, that you have good relationships with. Get them on into the class early and kind of start building around Brady Edmonds, Jameer Brown as the 2 leaders already in the class.
All right. Well, we only hit on a handful of guys. You guys go to Letterman Row for way more intel on the weekend. Mick Walker, thanks for stopping by on a very busy Sunday afternoon.